Hello and welcome back to Pixel Street Videos. Today, me and Will are slacking and we are reviewing episode 5 of the Halo TV series like a week late. But hey,
Yeah.
better late than never. Life comes and it goes, you know what I mean? Like we
Yes,
got
sir.
busy, so we're delayed. But we're going to record two episodes today, so both should be up now. Um, this one is going to be about episode 5, which was called Reckoning. And it was a good episode, Will.
Yeah, surprisingly.
Like arguably the best one yet.
Easily. Easily. Yes.
And
Not a
so
perfect episode, but definitely the best one we've gotten so far.
yeah, so we're not going to talk spoilers yet. But to recap what happened in the previous episode, the Master Chief went on his home planet, right where he's from, realizes that Halsey kind of kidnapped him. Well, he doesn't know exactly that he was kidnapped yet. He just knows that she
Yeah,
was there
something's
when he
something's
was
messed
young,
up. Yeah.
and everybody's dead except for him, pretty much, right? So
Yeah.
he's onto something. Um, Quan, she was doing her thing in the
Yeah.
desert. Was that this episode that happened? I can't even remember.
Yes, actually. That was
Okay.
5. So before that was the God, her story is so uninteresting that I just can't remember. Um they find out like all the money's gone and
The Mafia.
the mafia is they're trying to paint them as the insurrectionists, but it's more like the planet's mafia. Like they're just a small group of people who want to take charge. They are wrecking shit, and oops, now Soren's ship is gone, so they need to find a
They
way off
scrapped
planet.
it, right? Isn't that what they
Yeah,
said? They
they
got
they
scrapped.
completely tore it apart. So
Yeah.
that's what 4 left us with her storyline.
Okay. So to not go into spoilers for episode 5 yet, um, let's just give broad strokes. We both said this is a great episode, right? This is probably the best one of the series yet. Um, to go back on what we've been saying the last like 3 episodes, 4 episodes even, it was a lot of lore in like world building, and this had a lot of that. Don't get me
Mhm.
wrong, but it also had a lot of action, which was really cool.
Yes.
So it was kind of the best of both worlds in that sense. So I think overall, me and Will both agree it's probably the best episode yet. But now we're gonna go into spoilers. So, Will, give us a quick recap of episode 5.
So I'm gonna break this up like I did that last one where we talked about because the
Each
episodes
storyline.
jump back and forth on everybody's different stories. So we're gonna talk about the bad first.
Juan.
So Quan, yes, naturally. Thankfully, that portion of the episode takes up like a tiny chunk. They're in the desert, walking to the next settlement, needing to find a ride, and it's I think they said it was like 200 miles away. And Soren is pissed because he doesn't have a ship and he doesn't have any money, and he's telling her, "You are going to work for me to pay off what you now owe me." And then handcuffs her to the broken motorcycle while he
Yeah.
goes to find another ride. She gets mad, tries to break free by dragging the motorcycle over to a rock where she can pick up and start beating at her handcuffs. Eventually, she gets free, hides from Soren by doing some Lord of the Rings BS where they hide under the sand with their cloak,
Yeah.
comes out with a taser, tases Soren. He gets knocked out, and now she has his gun pointed at his head. Why?
I I don't know. I I got
I
nothing.
I I don't know where her story is going to end up, but I hope it ends with her
Don't
leaving
say
the
die.
show.
Don't say
I'm not going
dying.
to say that. I'm going to say leaving the show.
Well, you're so mean.
I don't want to be mean, but I'm not interested in this character at all. She's not adding anything to this story. Like the stuff following the Spartans and Halsey and Chief, that's what they're trying to portray, and I'm trying to bounce it off of the real lore from the game. Like that's still somewhat interesting. Her story sucks. Like flat
Yeah.
out. I'm done with it.
It's so bad up to this point to where like I agree I don't want that story within this other story, right?
Yeah.
I hope that somehow it pays off
Mhm.
to us as the watcher. but I don't see how it's gonna pay off to us this season, at
Yeah.
this rate. When she had that few of airtime on that episode, it was maybe like 5 to 7 minutes of the whole episode, right?
Yeah, not
So
much. Half of
yeah,
it was her beating at the handcuffs with a rock. It's
yeah, exactly. All right, so
so,
what storyline do you want to talk about next?
so the next portions are kind of intertwined. Just the before and the lead up to the action that we finally got. Um, so prior to all of the action, let me go back to my little page we had pulled up here. Um, John is more or less he's questioning pretty much everything about his life and his place as a Spartan, like why he's there. I have a suspicion that they're trying to hint at some of the core canon about Spartans being able to hear things at levels that normal people can't. Because he's removing himself from a lot of conversations, but he's staring intently at them. Like Halsey and Keyes were talking in the background, and I'm debating on whether or not he could actually hear what was going on, and that just leads further into his suspicion. Like, what happened to my childhood? Why were you in my vision when I touched that artifact? Um, the big artifact is being uncovered still, and um, they're experimenting. That one creepy dude that tried to kiss Halsey's
Yeah,
clone
for some
was
reason he's still in the show.
Yeah, I don't know what his purpose is. Just he's just
Here's a creepy
extra
guy.
number 4. Yeah, creepy extra number 4. Um, he's experimenting on the glass like structure around the artifact they're uncovering on his planet, on John's home planet, and it completely cracks open and emits like an ear piercing frequency. Like everybody gets incapacitated except for Chief. He then goes up and touches it, finds out that uh Halsey
Well,
more or
hold on.
less,
Doesn't Chief like sprint to it from like across the cave
yeah,
while
more or less.
everybody's like down on the
Yeah,
ground
he's
because they can't like bear the sound?
I don't know if that's just because of the helmet he's wearing or what, but he sprints over to it, touches it, and gets the rest of that vision where he sees him being kidnapped by Halsey and replaced by a, which they explain later on, and also in the core canon, the books, that he gets replaced by a Flash clone that has some defaults, and it goes off and dies shortly after the kidnapping. So they think he, as a person, is dead. Um, but he sees this, looks over at Halsey, and then just gets just filled with rage to a point where he straight up does a like
He
Falcon
charges.
Punch wind up and just jumps through the air. And Halsey has Cortana just comatose him. His eyes roll into the back of his head, and he's just laying on the ground with nothing. Then the action starts. That's right around the time when the Covenant get the info, because when he touches the artifact, they on Madrigal, the Mackie, they get the feeling that the artifact on the other planet has been found, and they track its signal to Aridnas. Covenant show up and start just wrecking everything. We're talking Saving Private Ryan level of violence in this episode. Jackal's getting blown in half, guts hanging out. Like, I'm having a great time with all this happening. Um,
This
how would
is
you?
there's kind of like a flaw in my head
Mhm.
about this. So as soon as the chief touched the thing on the planet, right? The relic on the planet, the Covenant knew where it was, right? How
Yeah,
come they
they
can't
just
find the one that's on reach that they have? Right? They don't know where it is,
yeah.
right?
It's again, it's not it. This is fan fiction. You would
And the
think with
chief's
a
been over there touching
$200 million
that
budget,
thing.
they'd have better writing.
Yeah, the chief has been over there touching that thing like every day it seems, and
Yeah,
they can't find it still.
but
It's
they
possible
somehow tracked that one.
it's possible maybe they do know where it is, but since it is on reach, they're not ready to attack or anything to try and get it.
Possibly, yeah,
So
because they could
who
be
knows?
watching us like all the UFOs and aliens are. You know, it's like, okay, this one's heavily fortified, but Eridanus has just that team of the UNSC. We can go there and take the artifact. It very well could be. How would you describe the Spartans' combat ability in this episode?
You mean like towards the end?
Yeah, during the actual fight, um, Chief, Vanek, Kai, Riz, like their abilities as soldiers are like the first thing that comes to my mind is Master Chief from the books. Like that's like the going meme. Anytime somebody does something awesome in the games, it's like, hey, this is Master Chief from the books. These guys are full on sprinting faster than the Warthog.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was kind of ridiculous.
Yeah,
Like the
fun
chief
but
was driving
ridiculous.
the chief was driving the Warthog, and the Spartans were just like running in front of it essentially at
Right.
times.
Just
Pretty
hopped
funny.
right into the turret at the same speed as something going like 80 miles an hour.
But yeah, it seems like they're really trying to encapsulate that whole demon aspect of the chief, right? Where
Right.
they're
He's a
showing why the Covenant's so afraid of him in this episode.
yes, agreed. Um so much of that scene, like I honestly want to go back and just rewatch just the fight scene to see because I know I missed a few things in there because so much stuff was happening so fast. I remember the gunner of the Warthog originally got super combined, exploded from
Yeah,
all the needlers coming in. That was a nice
that was
touch.
cool.
Um, Chief jumping out of the Warthog off the cliff and
Onto a
skyjacking the
banshee.
Banshee and straight up just adjusting its wings with his arms to fly it into a phantom. Oh man, that was
And then
that
and then
fight
he somehow
scene.
just like lands on the ground. Like
Yeah,
they don't
just
really show
superhero
it.
landing. He's no problem whatsoever. And then because the whole point of that fight, obviously, they're trying to get the artifact to the Pelican so they could fly it off world and get away before the Covenant take it. So it's kind of like bouncing all over the place, kind of like the Infinity Gauntlet in Endgame. It's just he has it, no they have it, now he has it. Eventually, Chief abandons that to go save Kai because she also removed her palate thing and is now starting to have like a sensory overload of everything going on in combat, and that distracts her to a point where she gets completely pelted with plasma and is down. So Chief completely abandons his mission of getting the artifact to the Pelican and
That's
goes
when
and
he
saves her.
skyjacks.
That's when he jumps on the Banshee and completely takes out the Pelican, attacking her area. But in that process, they lose the artifact. Chief is over there just beating the ever living hell out of an elite. Purple blood flying everywhere is great. And then here's a little fan theory I've got. A brute chieftain, first time we've seen one of those in the season too, comes down, gravity hammer, uses it to get the artifact, and then jettisons off after smacking Chief with it, who tries to get it back, but Chief picks up a jackal shield and blocks um the gravity hammer. I have a theory of who that brute might be, or at least where they took inspiration from, and it's Atriox. The dude had
Yeah, I was gonna
braided
say.
beard, braided hair back. He didn't quite have the same tone or look as like Tartarus from Halo 2, but definitely had some Atriox vibes there because that dude was huge.
Yeah, hold on.
Um,
It's also worth noting that when the chief goes to try and save Kai, Halsey's telling him like, "You need to get that artifact to me now," and then
yeah.
he's like, "No, I can't leave Kai."
Mhm.
And then that's when he kind of like he abandons the mission, right? And that's like
Yep.
a huge red flag for the Spartan and the Spartan program, because like if he had that chip in him still, he probably would just have completed the mission.
Yeah.
But
You're
yeah,
absolutely right. Although they, in at least the Spartans in what was it, first or second episode, when they were coming back to Reach, um, were saying like friend or mission or not, Chief's our brother more or less. So we're gonna stand by him, whatever decision he makes. So there's still some camaraderie there that is very much like the brotherhood they shared in the core canon as well. So
yeah.
I I want to say part of that is the canon they're trying to bring in from the games and the books, and part of it might be them removing the pallet from their spine, or maybe it's just a combination of both. Um, then after the Covenant fly away with the artifact, they drop Mackie or McKee. I don't know how it's traditionally pronounced. I
I'm
think they
gonna
only
say
said it once.
Maggie. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna go with Maggie.
They drop her off to make it, or she wants them to make it look convincing. They say, she says to him as she drops down to the planet,
No,
to
as
make
she,
it
as
look
she
like
she
she
also
has
has
been a
like
prisoner.
she
Oh
also had like
yeah,
a little energy sword fingernail thing. Like what the
yeah.
fuck was
She
that?
had energy coke nails.
I don't
So
understand that.
the jackals had energy gauntlets on, just
Yeah,
like in
they did.
Halo Reach, I think, where they had like wrist
Yeah,
blades,
like
kinda.
on their
Yeah.
like forearms.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, segue there. But yeah, she's dropping down. She is going to try to, I'm assuming, assassinate the chief, or use him, or try to convince him to come to their side or something. And that's just her safe measure. The weaponry she can bring in without actually bringing plasma weapons or something. I don't know. They drop her down to the planet and she passes out. And that's
Yeah.
where that episode ends.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't want to go too much longer just because we got to record a whole nother review
Yeah,
after
true.
this.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Try to keep
overall,
it short.
this was easily the best episode of the show, just because, like
Definitely
I
the
said
most watchable,
before,
for sure.
yeah, like the first half was all world building and building up
Mhm.
to this, right? You know, the
Yeah.
Covenant figuring out that the second artifact is on this planet that they're all on right now. And it builds up to that, and then you have a huge battle, which was fucking awesome. It was great. We
Yes.
got to see grunts for the first time. That
Yeah,
was
that's
cool.
true. Grunts and jackals for the first time, because up until that point we had only seen elites, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Well, elites and prophets. Yeah,
and prophets.
but
Yeah. Hi, Gwen. What are you doing? Gwen's here. Um, yeah, I don't know. Anything else you want to say? Any closing statements you want to say about this episode?
I loved that action. That is exactly what we needed this show to have, and I hope that it's not the only time we get it. Um,
The
the
thing
series
is, like,
needs a good balance between both world building and act.
yes. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It needs a good balance between both, because you can't have a whole show where it's like you're playing the Halo game where it's all action, or
Yeah.
else it's not gonna work out, right? Because
No.
they're not gonna be able to tell as much story in it. Like you're not gonna know what's going on. Um, so yeah, I'm hoping that the next what 4 episodes left, well 3 now that we've seen 6.
Yeah.
Um, I'm hoping that the majority of those are some sort of combat, right?
Yeah.
Like if half of each episode is combat, I think it kind of pays off. But another weird thing is like they keep trying to go to this first person mode, like in Doom the movie,
Yeah.
like during the combat scene, like
Mhm.
to be like, hey, look, this is a video game too, guys, check it out.
Oh, and
When
the dialogue in some of the references when Cortana's like shouting out like tactical information for him, he just quips back, "I know how the game is played,
oh
Cortana."
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, no, yeah. Cortana's like, switch weapons now, or no, like
Mhm.
reload your gun now. One of those
Right.
things. He's like, I know how the game's played, Cortana.
Oh god,
Um,
that it was cheesy, but I liked that just a little bit. Like there's good bad writing, and then there's bad writing. That was good bad writing.
yeah, it's a good time. I'm enjoying the show so far. After having watched this episode, where do you think the season is going to end?
The pace of it, I I honestly don't know if we're going to have enough, at least screen time left, to get to the fall of Reach. Like the actual fall of the planet itself. I don't think we're going to get that. It might start, but I don't think we're actually going to get the traditional like lead into Halo 1 where Reach falls, we're leaving the planet and find Halo. I don't think we're going to get there. I would like it to get there, but I don't think we are.
So yeah, that's after watching this episode. That's where I think it's gonna end with a battle on Reach.
Yeah.
Whether we see Halo at the end of the show, who knows? But I definitely think the last episode, ends with either a battle having ended on Reach or a battle, the middle of a battle on Reach in some
Hmm.
form. I don't necessarily think we see like the complete fall of Reach. It could just be that like season ends where like it's obvious that UNSC is losing the battle. And so
Right.
like it's just alluding to the fall of Reach.
Mm.
But
Like all the
yeah.
Covenant ships start coming in, fade to black.
Well, no, like I want to see part of the actual battle, right?
Yeah.
Like I whether it ends or not this season, who knows? It could also be that they're not going to do a Fall of Reach at all. Could just be
It's true.
something
Yeah. I
completely
mean, we are
different.
in a different timeline. So who
Yeah.
knows?
But yeah, I'm excited to keep watching the show. Stay tuned right here to Pixel Street Videos for more reviews, let's plays, podcasts, and unboxings. We will be back here with another episode reviewed of the Halo TV series. Bye.